Natasha Cooper has once again decided she's the authority on who qualifies as the real victim, and this time she's going after Dylan Mortensen. On November 13, 2022, four University of Idaho students, Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Zaina Cornodal, and Ethan Chafin, were brutally murdered in their off-campus home. Two roommates survived the attack, Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk. Now, instead of supporting the survivors, Natasha is using her platform to discredit and shame one of them. While reviewing Dylan's victim impact statement, Natasha accused her of being dramatic, saying it was all me, and that it felt fake. She literally said, I get that this is a victim statement, but this is the fakest shit I've ever seen. Take a listen.
Next is Dylan Mortensen. We're asking for some accommodations for Miss Mortensen and that she be allowed to sit in my seat.
Sure.
That's interesting.
Dylan, just take your time, all right?
This is a bit much.
Sorry. Thank you, Your Honor. What happened that night changed everything. Because of him, four beautiful, genuine, compassionate people were taken from this world for no reason. He didn't just take their lives. He took the light they carried into every room. He took away how they made everyone feel safe, loved, and full of joy.
Saved.
He took away the ability for me to tell them that I love them and that I'm so proud of them. He took away who they were becoming and the futures they were going to have. He took away birthdays, graduations, celebrations, and all the memories that we were supposed to make. All of it is gone. And all the people who loved them are just left to carry that weight forever.
I know why, Mama.
He didn't just take them from the world. He took them from me, my friends, my people who felt like my home, the people I looked up to and adored more than anyone. He took away my ability to trust the world around me. What he did shattered me in places I didn't know could break. I was barely 19 when he did this. We had just celebrated my birthday at the end of September. I should have been figuring out who I was. I should have been having the college experience and starting to establish my future. Instead, I was forced to learn how to survive the unimaginable. I couldn't be alone. I had to sleep in my mom's bed because I was too terrified to close my eyes. Terrified that if I blinked, someone might be there. I made escape plans everywhere I went. If something happens, how do I get out? What can I use to defend myself? Who can help? And then there are the panic attacks. The kind that slam into me like a tsunami out of nowhere. I can't breathe. I can't think. I can't stop shaking. All I can do is scream because the emotional pain and the grief is too much to handle.
Listen, I get that everybody has differences of opinions on this and on her, But I'm going to say this. If you've ever watched victim impact statements, this is the fakest fucking shit I've ever seen in my life. And it infuriates me because the only thing I've heard since she started this is me, 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 me. What she's lost, what she didn't get to do, how it affected her.
Yes, a grown woman called a trauma survivor fake because Dylan dared to express how the murders affected her. Natasha went on to say that Dylan made it all about her, as if that's not the entire point of a victim impact statement. She mocked Dylan for talking about her grief, what she lost, and how her life changed.
And I get that it's a victim impact statement, but there's 4 of your friends who lost their life. They're not here anymore. You are. And you've been out there partying your ass off since right after this happened. You also said you saw your friend face down, but she was face up. So did she flip herself over or did her deceased boyfriend do it? There's been so many things since yesterday that I've read in these documents that make me even more suspicious towards this girl. I am even more angry now than I was before.
Natasha claimed that the newly released documents make Dylan more suspicious than ever. She accused Dylan of lying, partying too soon after the murders, and pushing a story that doesn't add up. She even lashed out on her own moderator, who simply said Dylan went through something traumatic. Natasha snapped back, insisting the surviving roommates didn't go through anything.
The amount of lies that she told, and I don't care what you say about, oh, you don't know how you would react. This is something, blah, 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 blah. What I do know is that forensics don't lie. And they didn't go through anything, Kiki. They didn't go through anything. He didn't approach them. They weren't even, what did they, seriously? This girl was out partying 2 weeks after it happened. Tell me she was upset. Tell me she was bothered. Her father's out here giving interviews saying that she sequestered herself in her bedroom because she's so upset. Pictures tell a different story.
Natasha repeated the party narrative, said Dylan's photos told a different story, and argued that people only believe her because they're projecting their own past traumas onto hers. Natasha claimed Dylan and Bethany aren't even victims and asked what happened to them that makes them victims. Meanwhile, she repeated dramatically that the real victims were the 4 students who were slaughtered.
She literally says she saw her friend laying face down in the floor and continued on downstairs to Bethany's room to go to sleep. But in the new documents that were released yesterday, it plainly says that Xana was face up. So when did she turn over? Who turned her over? Nothing about her story adds up. And I get that people have had similar experiences, and I get that they're empathetic and sympathetic to her. But I will say this, just like I say with Gypsy's case and every other case, you can't believe this girl because of your past experiences. It's projection. It's just like with Gypsy. If you've gone through a traumatic experience that in any way, shape, or form resembles what somebody else has gone through, you are empathetic towards them. But look at the evidence. Look at how many lies she's told. Repeatedly, over and over. This is an absolute travesty of justice all the way around. All the way around. And in my opinion, they're not victims. What happened? He walked right by her within 3 feet of her. 3 feet. Yeah, that's in those documents too. And didn't harm her. But the 4 others, 2 on her floor and 2 upstairs, were literally slaughtered. Mm-mm.
My chest feels like it's caving in. Sometimes I drop to the floor with my heart racing, convinced something is very wrong. It's far beyond anxiety. It's my body reliving everything over and over again.
Thought you didn't say nothing.
My nervous system never got the message that it is over, and it won't let me forget what he did to them. People call me strong. They say I'm a survivor, but they don't see what my new reality looks like. They don't see the panic attacks, the hypervigilance, the exhaustion, the way I scan every room I enter, the way I flinch at sudden sounds. They don't know how heavy it is to carry so much pain and still.
I agree with you about the others, Kiki. I agree with you about every single person that wasn't there. But these two that were in that house when this happened, I have zero sympathy or empathy for. None. None, none, and none. Nothing.
I'll be expected to keep going, and that's because of him. He stole parts of me I may never get back. He took the version of me who didn't constantly ask, what if it happens again? What if next time I don't survive?
I'm sure their families are loving to hear this.
He may have shattered parts of me, but I'm still putting myself back together. Piece by piece, I'm learning how to live in this new version of life. It is not easy. It hurts, but I'm still trying. Still trying, and I'm not trying just for me. I'm trying for them, my friends. About a year ago, I had a dream about them. I got to say goodbye. I told them I won't be able to see you again, so I need to tell you goodbye. They all kept asking why, and all I could say was, I can't tell you, but I have to. When I woke up, I felt shattered and heartbroken, but also strangely grateful. Like maybe in some way that dream gave us the goodbye we never got. Still, no dream can replace them, and no goodbye will ever feel finished. He is a hollow vessel, something less than human. A body without empathy, without remorse. He chose destruction. He chose evil. He feels nothing. He tried to take everything from me. My friends, my safety, my identity, my future. He took their lives, but I will continue trying to be like them, to make them proud.
Everything from her?
Living is how I honor them. Speaking today is to help me find some sort of justice for them. And I will never let him take that from me. He may have taken so much from me, but he will never get to take my voice. He will never take the memories I had with them. He will never erase the love we shared, the laughs we had, or the way they made me feel seen and whole. Those things are mine. They are sacred, and he will never touch them. I get to feel sadness. I get to feel rage. I get to feel joy even when it's hard. I get to feel love even when it hurts. I get to live. And while I will still live with this pain, at least I get to live my life. He will stay here, empty, forgotten, and powerless.
Dylan, thank you so much for your courage. I appreciate it.
Natasha keeps saying this isn't about feelings, it's about facts. But everything she says is dripping in emotions, accusations, and personal judgment. She's not uncovering truth, she's targeting trauma. And for what? Views, power, control? Dylan Mortensen lived through something unthinkable, and instead of extending empathy, Natasha sits on a live stream mocking her pain, calling her fake, and rewriting what it means to be a victim. That's not commentary, that's cruelty with a microphone and a cash app. So if you're watching all this and thinking, this doesn't sit right with me, you're not wrong. Because no matter how loud Natasha yells about facts, the truth is, real victims don't need her approval to exist. Subscribe for more deep dives into toxicity, manipulation, and the influencers who weaponize their platform to hurt others, all while claiming to stand for the truth.
All right, let me start this morning by acknowledging and thanking those that have come here today in support of their loved ones. And I appreciate your courage and your strength. And I hope that you are able to move on as best as possible. Thank counsel for the professionalism that they've exhibited throughout this case. It has been my great honor to preside in this case and to help bring, to the extent possible, some resolution and hopefully justice to this case. During the quiet morning hours of November 13, 2022, a faceless coward breached the tranquility of 6 beautiful young people and senselessly slaughtered them, 4 of them. Who committed this unspeakable evil was unknown for several weeks, but due to the killer's incompetence and outstanding police work by numerous local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, the person that slithered through that sliding glass door at 1122 King Road now stands before the world and this court unmasked. This unfathomable and senseless act of evil has caused immeasurable pain and loss. No parent should ever have to bury their child. This is the greatest tragedy that can be inflicted upon a person. Parents who took their children to college in a truck filled with moving boxes had to bring them home in hearses lined with coffins. The loss this killer inflicted was not just the death of these people's children, siblings, grandchildren, as we've heard today. It has ripped a hole in their soul, destroying a special part of their very essence. Any person who is a parent defines themselves foremost as such. It is their existence and purpose of being. And it has been stolen from these parents. None of us have experienced the loss these victims have in the unspeakable way that they have. And therefore, none of us can, nor should we, question the way in which they have handled their loss. Whether that be in private mourning, removed as far as possible from this media circus, or in front of a camera demanding retribution with the loudest megaphone. I've listened intently to the stories and pain that have been shared today, with great awe at the courage and resilience of the surviving family members of those wonderful children. I've listened also to the surviving roommates, both in person and through their friends. And I can't think of how, frankly, courageous they have been despite the hell that they have faced by uncaring people who have come up with all kinds of crazy theories about 2 kids simply being kids. The parents, siblings, and other family members who have spoken today are designated as victims in our legal system. But going forward, I hope that they can shed that label, as it gives too much power to the evil that condemned them to that role. They are and should be known as survivors, fighters, and foremost as witnesses to the tremendous lives of value and unbounded promise of these 4 young people. But those speaking today and those who did not speak, but who carry this same burden, this same loss, now carry forward the memories of these now perpetually young people, these forever children. These survivors carry the responsibility of ensuring that the voices of these children, Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan, are never forgotten, and the positive impacts that they have had on so many lives are never minimized, and that the love they shared, the light that they shined onto others, is forever celebrated. As we sit here today, this case is ending, and we are now certain who committed these unspeakable acts of evil, but we don't know, and what we may never know is why. I share the desire expressed by others to understand the why. But upon reflection, it seems to me, and this is just my own opinion, that by continuing to focus on why, we continue to give Mr. Kohberger relevance. We give him agency and we give him power. The need to know what is inherently not understandable makes us dependent upon the defendant to provide us with a reason, and that gives him the spotlight, the attention, and the power he appears to crave. Yet even if I could force him to speak, which legally I cannot, how could anyone ever be assured that what he speaks is the truth? Do we really believe, after all of this, he's capable of speaking the truth or of giving up something of himself to help the very people whose lives he destroyed? Rather, I suspect the so-called reason would be dished out in enticing, self-serving, and aggrandizing untruthful bits, leaving people wanting more information, more insight, and thus enhancing even further the power he seeks to hold. Even if we could get truthful insight into his why, I suspect it would not in any way quench one's thirst for actually understanding why in the first instance. Because there is no reason for these crimes that could approach anything resembling rationality. No conceivable reason could make any sense. And in the end, the more we struggle to seek explanation for the unexplainable, the more we try to extract a reason, the more power and control we give to him. In my view, the time has now come to end Mr. Kohberger's 15 minutes of fame. It's time that he be consigned to the ignominy and isolation of perpetual incarceration. I know there has been concern about him collaborating on books or movies or other media projects, and I truly hope that someone does not stoop to affording him this spotlight that he desires in the name of clicks, royalties, or profits. While criminal behavioralists should study him away from the spotlight in an attempt to prevent other would-be killers from acting on their worst impulses, there should be no need for that to spill over into the public eye. The great Idaho jurist Edward Lodge was known for trying to find something positive about every person he ever sentenced. And with over a half a century as a trial judge, that was a lot of people. This was often challenging, and I recall in one case he said that the best he could come up with was the defendant had good penmanship. Truth be told, I'm unable to come up with anything redeeming about Mr. Kohberger because his grotesque acts of evil have buried and hidden anything that might have been good or intrinsically human about him. His actions have made him the worst of the worst. Even in pleading guilty, he is giving nothing hinting of remorse or redemption, nothing suggesting even a recognition or understanding, let alone regret for the pain that he has caused. And therefore, I will not attempt to speak about him further, other than to simply sentence him so that he is forever removed from civilized society. And accordingly, based upon his conduct and based upon the record before this court, recognizing the standards that govern this court's sentencing decisions as set forth in State v. Toohill, I hereby sentence Mr. Kohberger as follows. On count 1, burglary, 10 years fixed, 0 years indeterminate. I also impose a fine of $50,000. Count 2, first-degree murder of Madison Mogan. I sentence the defendant to a fixed term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a fine of $50,000, and a civil penalty of $5,000 payable to the family of the victim. On count 3, for first-degree murder of Kaylee Gonsalves, I sentence the defendant to a fixed term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a fine of $50,000, and a civil penalty of $5,000 payable to the victim of the family, or to the family of the victim, pardon me. On count 4, for the first-degree murder of Xana Kernodle, I sentence the defendant to a fixed term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a fine of $50,000, and a civil penalty of $5,000 payable to the family of the victim. On count 5, for the first-degree murder of Ethan Chapin, I sentence the defendant to a fixed term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a fine of $50,000, and a civil penalty of $5,000 payable to the family of the victim. The sentences on counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 shall run consecutively to one another. Restitution will be left open for 60 days. Defendant will be required to submit a DNA sample and a right thumbprint impression to the Department of Corrections and comply with the DNA Database Act. I remand the defendant to the custody of the Idaho State Board of Corrections for to be imprisoned in an appropriate facility in execution of the sentence where he will remain until he dies. Though you have waived your right to appeal, you do have a right to file a notice of appeal, and any such appeal must be filed within 42 days of the date of the written judgment, which will be entered shortly hereafter. Though the appeal, you should be aware, may be deemed a violation of the plea agreement, and so I certainly suggest you discuss that with counsel if that is your desire. I ask the media and public present to allow the families to be escorted out first before they leave. Again, thank you to everyone for your stories today. I am strengthened by them, and I am encouraged by your humanity and strength, and God bless you. We're adjourned.